Welcome back, all of you. This is the second part of the Code of Ethics discussion. I hope that you have already watched the webinar number 1 with regard to the Code of Ethics. And also, please note that don't watch this video as an isolated video. So you have to go back and watch the first video, the part 1 of the Code of Ethics, and come and watch this one, because this is a continuation of the previous session. All right. And what we have been discussing now, Code of Ethics, you are chapter 11 in BL5 syllabus. Basically, this just to give you a quick introduction, what we have done in the previous session. So we have been in the process of discussing the section D of your syllabus. They are chapter number 11, Ethics and Agree in the Terms of the Engagement. Basically, in this particular chapter, we have already discussed, this is the chapter contents of your in your study text, chapter contents. Basically, law, ethics, and morality, we discussed morality, and the importance of ethical behavior for accountants, we discussed, and fundamental principles of professional ethics, we discussed, and also the example of some of the questions from the pilot paper, mock paper, we discussed at the end of these 3 areas. So that is given in the webinar number 1 of Code of Ethics. So please go and watch it. Right. So intention of this video is to discuss the learning outcome or the chapter contents of your chapter 11, 4, 5, and 6. Basically, after we discuss these 6 learning outcomes or the 6 content, what the CS Sri Lanka is expecting for you to aware or you to perform at the examination is, so these are the 3 learning outcomes. So I hope that some of the learning outcomes now we can answer, because with the first part of the video. And at the end of the all 6 points after we learn today, so you will be able to answer all 3 learning outcomes. And after we finish this session today, so we'll go and discuss the revision question as well, to see how the knowledge that you gathered during our webinar series can be applied at the examination through an examination type of questions. Learning outcome number 1, explain the concept of auditor's independence and recognize why those undertaking an assurance engagement are required to be independent of their client. Recognize deontological and teleological views of ethics. This will be discussed today. It's an interesting part. And describe ethical decision-making model that could be applied in an ethical conflict scenario. How, when there is an ethical issue, how it can be resolved through a model given in the study text or given by American Accounting Association, AAA model. So we are going to discuss today. So therefore, today's video is going to be so much important for your examination perspective, because these are very basic areas of the Code of Ethics which we discussed previously. Now we are going to discuss a little bit on advanced areas, not that much advanced, but bit advanced areas, where the examiner will highly test these areas, right? Rather basic areas. There is a higher chance that the examiner will test ethical threats, dealing with threats of professional ethical behavior and the ethical views, especially the ethical views and the theories. Right, so these will be tested in your examination, right? So this is the program that we are going to discuss today through this session, right? So let me to go to the study text and to our whiteboard, and then after that, after we finish this theory part, we can come and discuss the revision kit questions, right? So this is your study text. So if you look at your study text, basically, as I told you even the previous session, basically we have about 7 areas to be discussed. So 7 areas to be discussed, as I told you. Again, I'm just telling you, point number 1 we have discussed, point number 2 we have discussed, point number 3 we have discussed. Now we are going to discuss 4, 5, 6, and 7 will not be discussed in this particular session, because that is a part of the auditing flow discussion. So basically, these ethical threats and dealing with threats to professional ethical behavior and ethical views will be the discussion of today, right? Okay, let us go and discuss the point number 4, ethical threats, right? This is highly examinable, right? So let me go to the whiteboard. So no, the fourth learning outcome that we have to learn is learn is ethical threats. So this is a fantastic discussion. Fourth point, right? Ethical, right? So listen to this, my explanation carefully, because in your examination, it is unlikely that there will be a direct theory. The direct theory will be tested from this ethical threat. So there will be a small practical scenario given for you to identify what type of threats will be there. Right. So before explaining this particular area, let me to show you a question, how the examiner will touch your knowledge in this ethical threat area. So that is the most important thing. When we do our studies of CA Sri Lanka, always remember, before starting to learn something, always go and look at how the examiner has tested that particular knowledge in the previous examinations or the revision kit or the pilot paper, mock paper, or whatever the papers that are given by CA Sri Lanka. That is so crucial, and it is not only applicable for the auditing paper, but also it is applicable for all other papers. If you don't do that, so you are not examination oriented, and unless you practice or unless you have an understanding what is the expectation of the examiner, so you will be, it is very difficult or it is very challenging you to get through a competitive exam like CA Sri Lanka examination. So basically, if I just go to the pilot paper, so this is your pilot paper, business level 2. If I go to the question number 18, so if you have the paper with you, you can see question number 18. Right? See, it's a bit of small practical scenario we will discuss at the end of the session today. So you are the partner in charge of the audit of Taruka Fashion Private Limited for the year ended 31st March 2019. Accountant of Taruka Fashion has left the company on 20th March 2020. As a result, the management has requested you to prepare the financial statement of the company before auditing them. What type of threat might this give it rise to? Self-interest, familiarity, self-review, and the intimidation. So what I want to show you that basically in your examination, it is very highly unlikely that what is the definition of self-interest, the definition of familiarity. So that is highly unlikely. I don't say no, but highly unlikely. But instead of that, there will be a small scenario given, small scenario given, and a practical scenario, small practical scenario. So if you know the theory of what type of threats will have to be faced by a chartered accountant, so now you have to apply that knowledge into a small scenario that is given by the examiner. So therefore, what most important thing you should learn from here, you should get it from here is, always remember that just after you learn the theory, go and practice the question to see whether you can apply that knowledge into the scenarios. If you cannot apply into the scenarios, that means that indicate that you have not understood the logic of the theory. Just memorizing the theory will not be sufficient for a subject like auditing, because it is a logical subject, practical subject. If you can just understand the logic of the concept, rather memorizing, කටපාඩම් කරනවට වඩා ඒ concept එක අවබෝධයෙන් තේරුම් ගන්න පුළුවන් නම් ඒ දැනුම පාවිච්චි කරලා විභාගෙදී අපිට scenario එකකට මේ knowledge එක දාන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි කටපාඩම් කරලා ගියොත් එහෙම වෙන්නේ අපිට scenario base එකක් දුන්නාට පස්සේ අපි අර කටපාඩම් කරා හා සමානව scenario එකක් ආවොත් ලියන්න පුළුවන්, වෙනත් scenario එකක් ආවොත් අපිට උත්තර ලියන්න බෑ. Right? So that you have to have a good understanding in terms of the subject, like complex subject like auditing. So this has to be there, right? So I just want to show you the type of examination, how that will come in examination from this particular area. Ethical threat. So concentrate with me carefully now. What is meant by ethical threats? In the previous video, we discussed, right? So I'll take this person now. I'll draw a person. So let's assume you. Right, you are a chartered accountant. I explained you the last session, the benefit of becoming a chartered accountant and what will be your role, and all those I explained. I hope that you are really motivated to become a qualified chartered accountant now. right? So being a chartered accountant, I told you in the previous session, right? I don't know how to draw arts, but for your explanation perspective, right? This particular chartered accountant, right? When he works as a chartered accountant in professional and business relationship, after you become a chartered accountant, after you go to the BMICH and get your ACA membership, so you are compelled to comply with fundamental principles, right? Fundamental principles. Can you remember? Fundamental principle. That is mandatory for you. So being a CS student, for you also must maintain this one. We discuss into this. The fundamental principle, if you can remember, we discussed 5 fundamental principles. One is integrity, right? Objectivity. I hope that you can remember this thing. Number 3, professional competence and due care, right? And number 4, we discuss confidentiality, right? And number 5, we discuss professional behavior. So what's happening now? Being a chartered accountant in one day or being a chartered student as of now, you need to have 5 attributes. You need to have 5 fundamental principles that must be maintained like a religious matter. Like a religious matter, you have to maintain. That is your core. That is your presentation. That is your representation as a member of this prestige professional body. So this 5 fundamental principles: integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care, confidentiality, and the professional behavior. Do you think that even if you want to maintain this fundamental principle, whether your society will allow you to do this thing? As an example, let's say you are not take an example, right? Not you. Let's say a person called Amarapala. Let's say Amarapala. Amarapala is a alcohol addicted person. Is always alcohol person, and he always want to drink alcohols, right? There are people like that. Amarapala. Now Amarapala one day decide, okay, I'm going to stop the drinking alcohol or taking the alcohol, and I'm going to be a good person hereafter. Amarapala comes home and tells to everyone, I'm no more alcohol addicted person, and I will never use the alcohol again. 2-3 days, now Amarapala has a fundamental principle. What is the fundamental principles? Amarapala will never use the alcohol again. That is a principle developed by Amarapala, right? So, but this Amarapala is trying to make, do you think the society will allow Amarapala to behave like that? Do you think that the friends of Amarapala will allow Amarapala to not to take the alcohol? It is highly unlikely. Why? The society will make a threat to him. What is the threat? And there's a birthday party of one of his friends, and when they go to all the friends are going to the birthday party, and so friends are now joking and kidding. You are not taking the alcohol. Why don't you take? And like earlier you were taking, like. So influence is coming. Influence is coming. Even though Amarapala wants to not to, Amarapala doesn't need to or doesn't like to take the alcohol. Amarapala's threats, challenges are coming with the friends that you are compelled to take. See, even though Amarapala wants to maintain the fundamental principle of not taking the alcohol, the society will not allow. and society and the profit dealings, day-to-day dealings, sometimes may influence you to take the alcohol. That is a one example. The second example, right? Now you get fed up with, it's a very basic example, right? You get fed up with the chartered you try to do, but you don't have mind to do. So you are thinking of and me chart pass but if someone does a proper work, definitely will get through the examination. There are enough more and more chartered accountant who have with even very A-level result, very low A-level results, right? 3S and 2Cs, 1. Be like small A-level, so very less A-level results, but they are well qualified chartered accountant today, because your past doesn't decide the future. Present will decide the future. If you do a proper work today, definitely, so you will achieve your dream. So what I'm trying to say is, now, so let's say you are someone from Monaragala, right? Monaragala, let's say, and you want to do some cultivation in the jungle. You want to do some cultivation in the jungle. Say, let's say, some vegetable type of thing, or some vegetable or some related cultivation you want to do. Now, what you do is you take a 2 acres land in the, let's say, Monaragala district, somewhere inside the jungle, and you take 2 acres land and you do that some type of cultivation. Monohari patangano cultivation. Now you, in a way, putting a very hard effort, you do that cultivation. And you have done a lot of effort, and the cost incurred for the preparation of the land and cultivating the vegetables or whatever the item that is available in that area. Now, after you do everything, now you have done your cultivation, but will the environment of the society will allow you to take the harvest? ඔය කියන විදිහට අපි වගාව කරාට පස්සේ ඒ වගාවේ ප්‍රතිලාභය ඒ විදිහටම සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන විදිහට මේ සොසයිටි එක තියෙනවද? නැත්නම් මේ එන්වයරන්මන්ට් එක තියෙනවද? එහෙම නැහැ. Right? Lot of challenges will come for the cultivation. You have to say protect the cultivation. Why? Wild elephants will come. So wild elephants will come, and then some other animals will come, and the people will come and steal. Like a lot of challenges will be there, and some type of the fertilizer issues will come, and some type of other chemical items you will have to put because of some other diseases to the vegetable cultivation. So likewise, so there are so many challenges that will come to the cultivation that you have done in Monaragala, right? So you have put a lot of effort, but to maintain and get the expected outcome, it is not easy. Why? Lot of challenges are there. Those lot of challenges that farmer can recognize, that lot of challenges as a threat. මොකක්ද අපි කියන්නේ සාමාන්‍ය wild elephant වල්ලලින්ගෙන් අපිට මොකක්ද තියෙන්නේ තර්ජනයක් වල්ලලි තර්ජනය right කෘමි එතකොට රෝග තර්ජනය නැත්නම් කෘමීන්ගෙන් වෙන රෝග තර්ජනය right we call threat wild elephant threat. I'm not going to teach on these wild elephant matters, but what I'm trying to say an example, whatever the things we are going to do in this world, there will be a threat, so there will be a challenges. So when now you are doing the CA examination, for you also there are some barriers, there are some difficulties, there are some limitations, there are some threats. While when you do a cultivation, also those threats will be there. When you do the CA examination, also those threats will be there. If you do the business, the competition will become a threat. Competition. If you do the business, also threat will be there, right? So everything, whatever the work that you do in this world will have a threats, right? It can be defined in a different terms on a different application, but those are threats. So if you try to do, or if you try to do something in this world, if there are threats, why doesn't it apply? Why it doesn't apply for a chartered accountant? It is apply for a chartered accountant also. This particular chartered accountant, now let's say this particular chartered accountant is Amarapala. I will take the example of this particular chartered accountant is Amarapala. Recently qualified chartered accountant, Amarapala. Right? This Amarapala by profession has to maintain this 5 fundamental principle. Amarapala has to have the integrity, honest and straightforward relationship, or the dealings has to be there, and the unbiased without conflict of interest and without undue influence. You have to work toward the objectivity, and you have the professional skill and the knowledge that is required by the client or your business organization, and also you have to work diligently. And the information that you gathered in a professional and business relationship should not be disclosed to a third party to obtain a personal advantage or another advantage for a third party. And you should not bring your CA Sri Lanka or the chartered accountant profession into disreputation. You have to maintain the prestige name of chartered accountant as a chartered student as well as a chartered member, right? So these are the 5 fundamental principles that a chartered accountant should maintain. But the problem here, even though you try to maintain these fundamental principle, do you think that our environment that we work, is it allowed? Whether it is allowing us to work like that? No. The thing is, our environment will make some threats to you, some challenges to you, some limitation to you, some barriers to you, some bottlenecks to you. Even though you try to maintain this 5 fundamental principle as far as possible, it is not allowing for you to maintain like that. There will be some challenges come in. So it is not allowing you to maintain as you wish. And these will have to face on threats. Right? So you have to face to some threats, you have to face to some challenges, you have to face to some limitation while you are trying to maintain all these 5 fundamental principles. So you are trying to maintain this 5 fundamental principles, but the challenges are coming, right? One of the challenges we call, explain one by one later. Self-interest. I'll explain one by one later. Self-review, right? Familiarity, advocacy, and intimidation, right? As a chartered accountant, when you try to maintain this 5 fundamental principle, it is not the environment supporting you. It is not the environment will support to you to maintain as it is, because environment will give you challenges, or the professional relationships or the dealing with the people will give you challenges to maintain these 5 fundamental principles. Those are called threats. Abhyuga, tarjana. One is self-interest, other one is a self-review, other one is a familiarity, advocacy, and the intimidation, right? Self-interest, self-review, familiarity, advocacy, and intimidation. So it's highly unlikely in your examination it will be tested. It will be asked you to write the definition of this, but there will be 1 or 2. But mostly you have to aware about each and every threat, how practically it will come, right? So I'm going to elaborate now one by one: self-interest, self-review, familiarity, advocacy, and the intimidation. So look, we'll go down. Right. The number one that we have to aware is self-interest. What is meant by self-interest? I'll tell you an example first that you will have a better understanding now. Let's say I'm telling a basic diagram of the auditor. Now, management is preparing the finance statement and giving to the shareholder. Shareholders do not trust the management. Therefore, shareholder goes and appoint a third-party person called chartered accountant. The shareholders are given the finance statement prepared by the management, but the shareholders do not trust the management. So therefore, shareholder goes and appoint a third-party person called chartered accountant. Look here, chartered accountant. My management has prepared the finance statement, but I don't believe them. Can you come and check this finance statement and give me a report? Give me a report. So at that time, this particular chartered accountant, what he has to do, he has to carry out an audit. He has to carry out an audit. Right. So that is what we discussed under the previous webinars about webinar number 1 to 9, 1 to 8. All those are with regard to the auditing. While this particular chartered accountant carries out the audit, this management, there is a person called CFO. The CFO has done a 2 million fraud. This particular chartered accountant has identified that. This particular chartered accountant called auditor has identified that the CFO has taken out the money of the company, about 2 million. This has been identified. Now, this particular chartered accountant's role is what? If it is material to communicate to the shareholders, there is such a fraud like this. Now, CFO coming to your home in the evening, how was CFO like I will look here accountant or may at the million make කියන්න එපා shareholders ලට මේක කියන්න එපා management එකට මම ඔයාලට ලක්ෂ 5ක් දෙන්නම්. I will give you a 500,000. Right? I will give you 500,000. Now this chartered accountant is thinking, these days my house, I'm constructing my house. මේ දවස්වල මම මගේ ගෙදර හදනවා. සල්ලි නැතුව හිටියේ. අන්න ලක්ෂ 5ක් හම්බෙනවා මේක නොකිය ඉන්නවට. ගන්නවද නැද්ද? ගන්නවද නැද්ද? Are you going to take or not? You will say no, but some people will take it. 500,000 is a bigger amount nowadays. But one day when you become a chartered accountant, 500,000 is not a big figure because you can earn in a bigger way. But let's say this is a 500,000 or 500 lakhs or something. So are you going to take or not? Now the bribe has been offered by the CFO. Now you have a financial problem. You have a financial problem. And your mind works rather conducting the audit of finance statement. Your mind works for what? Lakshapa. Your mind is working for the 500,000. So then what happened? So your objectivity is what? Your objectivity is to state that the finance statement prepared by the management do not contain material misstatement. The finance statement prepared by the management do not contain material misstatement. That is your whole purpose or a whole objective. That objectivity is compromised now. That objectivity is compromised with what? That objectivity is compromised with the another financial interest. Another financial interest. So that means even though as a chartered accountant, I want to maintain my objectivity with this threat coming of the I'm interested to, rather than doing the audit properly, I'm interested to get this 500,000. So what's happening? So this is a self-interest. This is a self-interest. This comes with the self-interest. Rather, I go on to my objectivity. I would like to take this 500,000 money. It is a self-interest for me. So because I need the money, rather audit objective, I get that money. Right? Therefore, In this particular circumstances, if any chartered accountant is challenged or a chartered accountant is under pressure or a chartered accountant is rather going to his objective, if he has a financial or other non-financial interest, right? Interest while he is achieving his objectivity, or financial or non-financial interest may inappropriately influence the definition. May inappropriately influence the accountant's professional judgment. Just an example. So professional work of the particular accountant is influenced by the financial or non-financial interest. Another example, let's say you are the auditor of Watch Jewelers. I'm telling an example, right? And Watch Jewelers during the audit, your audit senior is told by the managing director, you are a very good one and you are doing a lot of work. So as a gift, so take this £2 gold, some item instrument. Pound deke මාලයක් දෙනවා. ගන්නවද නැද්ද? මාලයක් නෑ. මේ දවස්වල gold, these days the gold is very expensive, and will you take or not? Sometime you may take, after taking off that one, next day managing director calls and tell, so son or daughter or the accountant or auditor, so like this, now I just noted some issue has been raised by you with regard to the non-compliance with the laws. So small thing, can you avoid that? Now you cannot work according to your objective. Yesterday you took a gift. So gift will change your mind and divert your mind whether to he has given me a gift, so I should not report on that. He has considered me. He has given me the job opportunity, so I should not consider. Self-interest. Another example, this is a very good example. Let's say this, some of you audit trainees are also listening this webinar. So in audit firm, when you are working sometime, after you work 2 to 3 years time, and you are very close with the client, and the client sees your skills, clients are dakina walage skills e okkoma dakkata passe samara client lara hitana oya wetenna ganna, right? That is a one way. The second way, let's say while the audit is going on, the accountant noticed that he has done a fraud, and as audit senior you have identified that. Now accountant put a strategy, and accountant says, I have a vacancy of audit accountant executive, accounts executive, the salary of 55,000. Now in the audit firm you are paid only 15,000 or 10,000. So why don't you come here? I will give you all the facilities. And you are also very happy because you are getting now 15,000 salary and you are going to get for 55,000. Even without completing the CA examination, you are very happy to accept that job. Then you say, okay, soon after this audit is over, I will come. But what will happen now? And the accountant says, one issue has been identified. Now, anyway, you are joining the company later. So don't raise this issue into the audit partner and don't highlight this. What happened now? Now you have to keep the relationship with the accountant, because you are going to go to the particular company as an employee, and you will compromise your objectivity, and you will not work according to the auditing standard, but in the undermine. So you are inside of your mind is working about this job. Rather my object so I'm working to the objective of the auditor. I'm working to the objective of myself. My objective is to get that particular job, right? So to get that particular job. So therefore, that is a self-interest. self-interest. I told a lot of example. Another one more example. Let's say in this CFO, in this particular CFO, a bonus, right? This particular CFO's bonus is decided into PBT into 1%. The CFO has been informed by the board of directors, if you earn the profit, that profit into 1% will be your annual bonus, right? As a CFO, what is your job role? Your job role is to give the correct financial figures to the shareholders, the correct financial position to the shareholders. Now with this, what's going to happen? And you know, if I increase even 100,000 rupees, I will get 1,000 rupees as my bonus. If I increase by 100 million of profit, I will get my bonus as 1 million. If I increase by 1,000 million profit, I will get 10 million profit. So who will give this one? Who will give this much of money? So now rather as a CFO or a chartered accountant, rather I work toward my objective. My objective is what? To reflect or to give the correct financial position to the shareholders. Rather I give my correct, rather I do my correct job. Now 10 million is a bigger money for me. 10 million is a bigger money for me because I can't earn the 10 million even for next 10 years by the salary. Now your mind is working, mind is diverting. The mind is diverting from your objective of giving the correct financial position into the personal, financial or non-financial interest. Personal or non-financial interest. Now I told you many examples. Another last example. Otherwise I will be explaining only the self-interest. Another example. Let's say your wife has a company called ABC Private Limited. And you are the auditor, you are an auditor of the company, you are running an audit firm, ATC Associate, ABC Associate. Now, can you be an auditor of your wife company? What are the challenges? What is the challenge that you have to make? You cannot work as an independent because when you come back home, you have to stay, So you can go and tell the big stories at the audit firm that finance statement not prepared like this finance statement not prepared like this is wrong, that is wrong, therefore I will qualify the audit report. End of the day, you have to come home. So you have to come home. Now see, even though you want to do, even though you try to do your professional duty, other interest, other challenges, other limitations, other barriers, other bottlenecks are coming and impacting your decision making. That is why I told you financial or a non-financial interest may affect the particular chartered accountant's professional judgment as required by the relevant standards. Right? So I hope that it's very clear. I'll just tell you an example also. I'll just note it down. I told about 5 examples, but you can just note it down. One example is, right? Example is accepting groups, accepting gifts, right? If gift from the client, right? And auditor has, let's say auditor has invested in shares of the client, right? Because if you are auditor of the company and also you are a shareholder, small number of shareholders, what will happen now? Even though you want to do the audit objective, your mind is getting a disturb. I am the shareholder also. I have to increase maximum the share price. And what will happen? Then I can get a gain at the share market. Right? So to increase the share price, what can I do? Overstate the finance statement. When the finance statements are overstated, the people are coming and buying the shares. What is happening? මෙතන අර හරියට බලන්න මේක මම කියපේක තේරෙන්නේ නැති මම කියන්නේ මෙතන සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම තියෙන්නේ අර අපේ අරමුණට බාධා කරන යම් තියෙන අභියෝග. අපි සමහරලාවට අපිට අරමුණකට යන්න තිබුණා වුණාට අපිට මොනවා හරි ඉන්ට්‍රස්ට් එකක් එනකොට වාසියක් එනකොට අපි කියන්නේ වාසියක් එනකොට අපි අර ඔබ්ජෙක්ටිව් එක චේන්ජ් කරනවා. So that is called self interest. Right? And another example is this is 1 and this is 2 and profit related bonus. Now these two are, we are talking from auditors. I told you at the beginning of the previous video, there are two chartered accountant in practice, chartered accountant in business. Audit firm, partners, managers coming under this, and these two examples from the audit firm angle. But this is from the chartered accountant business, CFO's angle, right? So therefore, I hope that you can remember that, right? So I hope that you got a very clear understanding into the self-interest. And so this is a very common thing that can be seen in your question examination as well as the practical life. I hope that you will become a chartered accountant very soon, and after becoming a chartered accountant you will realize, so this self-interest is always coming and disturb your mind, because we all are humans, but as you are aware, we should not compromise this fundamental principle, because being a chartered accountant, that is our uniqueness. We should not at any cost, to get any benefit, we should not breach this fundamental principle, right? And number 2, I'm going to tell you that number 2 is self-review. Just think it over. Self-review. What is that? The self-review means you review the work that is done by you. Self-review. You review the work that is done by you in the past. Self-interest. You have your interest come into the place, rather fundamental principle. Self-review. And I'll tell you an example. Let's take an example. In our basic diagram, management is preparing the finance statement and giving to the shareholder. And the shareholder does not trust the management. Therefore, shareholder comes and appoint a third-party person called chartered accountant to come and check the finance statement which are prepared by the management, right? Then this person needs to be seen as an independent person. This person needs to be seen as an independent person, right? Now, in this management, when they prepare the finance statement, when they are preparing the finance statement, they have to estimate the income tax, right? Just understand that. When this management prepare the finance statement before giving to the shareholders, that income tax provision, income tax expenditure must be estimated. That estimation, generally this management is not aware of how to do that estimation. So management goes to this particular chartered accountant and say, chartered accountant, can you estimate my income tax liability? Then this particular chartered accountant estimate the income tax liability and give it to the management, because chartered accountants are well expert in the taxation in any country. So now what has happened? Now this management will incorporate in the finance statement income tax figure that is computed by the audit firm. After that, after incorporating that income tax figure, you give it to the shareholders. Then now shareholder is appointing the same chartered accountant to come and check this finance statement. Now, do you think there is a self-review threat? Yes. Why? What happened now? This particular chartered accountant has to come and check the finance statement. While he is checking the finance statement, he has to check the income tax provision as well. But that particular income tax provision was prepared by whom? That particular chartered accountant himself. So then what is going to happen now? This, let's say the chartered accountant is Amarapala. Amarapala is going to check the Income tax computation prepared by whom? Prepared by Amarapal himself. So that in such a scenario, you will not be able to maintain the objectivity. Why? Make a check karna kota, may income tax ki varadak tibunot. Api ating vecha mistake ka tibunot. Api management tekata kiya ida kiyanne na. Api kiyanne na. Api කරපු වරදක් පිළිගන්න සූදානම් වෙන සුත් නෙවෙයිනේ අපි කියන්නේවනේ. So then end of the day the objectivity of appointing a third party person to come and check the finance statement is not fulfilled, right? So therefore this is we call review or reevaluate. We call review or re-evaluate. Review or reevaluate. Reevaluate something done by same accountant in past. Right? So review or reevaluate something which is done by yourself. That is a self-review threat. We call self-review, self-reviewing threat. Right? I hope that you got that understanding into that. Right? An example is the income tax computation. If that is done by the audit firm, income tax computation. Right? The share valuation, like that, anything. Just don't try to remember this example, but try to understand the logic. If you are to review the something that is done by you, it is a self-review. Right. So I'll come to the third one now. The third one is it's another interesting one. Familiarity threat. Familiarity threat. Right. Number 3. Familiarity. So what is meant by familiarity? Now you know. So sometime I might have not met you, but through the webinars, through the CA webinars, you may be knowing me. Now you might have come to know me because all the auditing filler webinars I do at CA. So earlier you are not aware about me. Now you are aware about me. Right? Sometime if you see me in outside, maybe at the institute or some other places, I may not know you, but you may recognize me who I am. Right? What I'm trying to tell from there is familiarity. Familiarity. Let's say you are meeting a person today, and you are meeting that person every day morning at the road for about 1 week time. The day one you met that particular person, you didn't have any kind of memory or relationship or nothing. But after 1 week time, if you meet the same person on every daily basis, what will happen? You will get familiarized with that person. Familiarize that person. Right? Familiarity is also the familiarizing the people is always good, because you can understand the people and you can do in a proper, or you can do a better things. But the problem is like this: when you are familiarized with the people too much, they can change your decisions. They can change your decisions. How it's going to happen? Look at here, right? How it's going to happen. Now look at this. Management is preparing my basic diagram. This is any concept of auditing can be explained through this diagram. Management is preparing the finance statement and giving to the shareholders. and the third party chartered accountant is appointed to come and check the finance statement. That is basic auditing. Let's say this management has, or this auditor has been appointed in 2016, and the same auditor for 2017, 18, 2019, 2020, 2021, as well as 2022. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. What do you think they are? Now, first year you go to the audit. I don't know the people. I will work toward the book and I'll complete the audit. The second year when I go to the audit, those are known people to me some extent, but I do my work. Third year also I go to the audit, I do my work. Fourth year, fifth year, sixth year, seventh year comes. Your relationship is built. And when you go to there and it has come to a level there, you are talking sometimes personal things, family things, and you are getting friendly, and they are sending the hampers to you at the year-end, calendars, day books, and all those materials are sent to your audit firm. And when the audit firm also calling the client, when there is a function at the audit firm, likewise, the relationship is built. When you are associating a person for too long, the relationship is automatically building. When the relationship is automatically building, that is good, but the risk factor for a being chartered accountant. Then in the 2022, let's say, in 2022, I want to qualify the audit report. I want to qualify the audit report of this particular company because they have not prepared the financial statement in such a way that as required by the accounting standard. So if that finance statement has not been done as required by the accounting standard, I may have to qualify the audit report. No. Now the problem is the CFO calls in a very friendly manner, like Machang level, and tells Machang, can you avoid this qualification? I will correct in the next year. Now your mind is working. Look here, this CFO has been with me for the last 7-8 years, and they are very good with me, and he is coming to my family function as well, and very long relationship. We should not break the relationship. Now, even though you have a fundamental objectivity call, you have to maintain the fundamental principle called objectivity. While you are trying to maintain that objectivity, there is a challenge, there is a threat coming with your relationship, right? Relationship. So therefore, always, the familiarity, the relationship is not good, right? So this is close, right? So this is a close, I must say, the close and the personal relationship. Close and personal relationships. Right? So if you are having a close and personal relationship, that creates, that is a challenge, or that is a threat to maintain the whatever the required, the fundamental principle of a chartered accountant. So it's a good example is the being the auditor of the same client for many years. So this would definitely create a familiarity threat. Right? I'm coming to the next one, next good important one. And remember, in your examination, it is highly possible to test the self-interest and the self-review and the familiarity as well. And the next one is not that highly popular, but it would be tested in your examination. The number 4, advocacy threat. Have you heard this word called advocacy? Number 4, advocacy threat. Number 4, advocacy threat. Advocacy, we call in singular upadeshanatmaka. Advocacy, right? Advocacy, advocate. You are appearing on behalf of someone. You are representing someone. You are working for someone. You are promoting someone's opinion. You are appearing on behalf of someone's statement. Now, let's say in the political party, if the president says something and there are some political people under the president to appear on behalf of a statement, advocating, right? So advocating means you promote opinion or a position of a client. So that means, I'll tell you that, I'll write the definition, right? Promote a position or opinion in support of a client. Now let's take an example. Now just think it this one. Let's say the management, my basic diagram, and prepare the finance statement and give it to the shareholders, and the management comes and appoint, or a shareholder comes and appoint a chartered accountant to come and check this finance statement. So this particular management has to sometime see, and let's say Inland Revenue Department has, right, sent an assessment demanding some additional taxes to be paid. And IRD has sent a letter to the company. You have not paid this much of tax of the last year according to our assessment. Please pay. That is called tax assessment. But this particular management is not capable in handling this case. In such cases, this particular chartered accountant is asked, can you represent to the IRD? That is what happening in the practical world. Can you represent us with the IRD and make this resolve? And can we communicate what is our thinking and whether we have done something correct? And then can you fight with the IRD on this? What is going to happen now? So you are under the advocacy threat. Why? Now you are going to represent to the IRD on behalf of the management, and you are trying to maintain the position that is taken by your client. That may not be your opinion. That may not be your independent opinion, because you have been requested by the management to do this work as to the fee. At a fee. So then what's going to happen here? This particular chartered accountant has to act on behalf of the management, right? So that is an advocacy threat. Also, the legal cases. If there is a legal case against the company, sometimes this audit firm will be requested to advocate on behalf of the client. So sometimes you may go to the court and you may be appearing. So that creates advocacy threat during the audit. While the audit is being done in the later, you have to maintain the professional standard. But when you are trying to maintain the professional standard, one moment, even though that is correct or even though that is wrong, you have to maintain the position because you are the one who represented on behalf of the company to the IRD. Api company එකේ තියෙන opinion එක promote කරේ කවුද? අපි. ඒ company එකේ තියෙන opinion එකට පෙනී හිටියේ කවුද? අපි. දැන් පස්සේ audit එක කරන්න ඇවිල්ලා අපිට පුළුවන් දේ opinion එක වැරදි කියලා කියන්න. Can we say? We cannot say. Right? So therefore, this is called an advocacy threat. Right? An example, appearing for a tax appeal or tax appeal case on behalf of the client. On behalf of the client. These examples are very much important, right? So that is number 4. So we are coming to the last one under the threats. As a chartered accountant, you have to face challenges one day because your life is not going to be easy in terms of ethical practices. The society will not allow you to the practice or the work according to the way that you think or the way the CA Lanka expects you to behave. It will be really challenging, but challenges are coming, but you have to overcome those challenges as far as possible, right? And number 5th is intimidation. Intimidation. What it is? Again, we meet Arjanaya. Intimidation threat. Intimidation threat. What it is? Intimidation. Now, this is not an example, but just to make you understand. This you can write an exam. Now, you are the audit senior of, let's say, a company called ABC PLC, and you found that 10 million fraud has been committed, perpetrated, or initiated by the accountant. Accountant has taken out the 10 million money from the company you identified during the audit. Now, after finishing the audit, you come home. When you come home, you come by the bus. Let's say you are from Homagama and you come by bus of 138 bus, and then you get down from the, let's say, Homagama junction. White van comes, Sudu van white van comes and take into the van and take to inside somewhere in Diagama, somewhere in the forest area, and tell you will be killed tomorrow if you reveal this transaction. May transaction neka report karot aniwaryam heta marana. Now your mind is working whether to maintain the objectivity of being a chartered accountant or to safeguard my life. See, that is also a challenge when you are trying to maintain the professional ethics, professional fundamental principle like self-interest, self-review, familiarity, advocacy. Intimidation also a threat. You make an influence, make a challenge, and if you don't do this one, this will be the punishment. Intimidation. But I just gave you that example, but not to write at the examination, to make you understand what is really meant by intimidation, right? So intimidation means basically, right, an act may be an act, may be threatened or warned, right? So you are threatened or you are warned. An example, management says, if you report this one, if you report this transaction, now this year there is an issue. This issue if you report, and we will take a legal action against you because you have not done the previous year audit properly. You are being threatened by the client. That is number 1, right? You are being threatened or warned, and you are not allowed to do according to your fundamental principle, and you are not allowed to, right? You are not allowed to work according to your professional standard. Intimidation, right? The second one, and let's say if you do this one, on entire audits that we have given to you will take off. අපි තමක දැන් ඔඩිට් ෆර්ම් එකක ක්ලයන්ට් කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා ඔඩිට් ක්ලයන්ට් ගෲප් එකේ කම්පැනි 30ක් තියෙනවා 30ම ඔඩිට් කරන්නේ අපි. එතකොට ඔය එක කම්පැනි එක ප්‍රශ්නයක් එනවා. ඒ ප්‍රශ්නේ report කරොත් අපිට threaten කරනවා. මේක report කරොත් මේ group එකම අපි ඔයාලගෙන් අයින් කරනවා. So then audit firm is thinking, look, yeah, my income is going to be very less. I have to maintain the fundamental principle of objectivity, but also I have to pay my salaries to my staff and I have to have a reasonable income to live. Because auditors also are the business people. They have to do the business. So then it is that threat is coming. Threat is coming as the intimidation, right? An example for the act may be threatened or warned the one. An example is, would say about, right, threaten to sue against the auditor. So they are going to say that they are going to take the legal action against us, right? So now this is for a chartered accountant in practice. Now the accountant, chartered accountant in business. The intimidation good example is you are working as an accountant. Your boss says, your boss comes and tell you, so pass this journal entry. And you are asking with the boss, that is not correct because this is a wrong entry, this is a fraud. Then boss threaten you. If you don't do, I will give a negative marks for your performance evaluation, your performance review at the month end, year end. What will happen? Then you won't get the promotion. If you don't do this one, your promotion will not be there. If you don't do this, your salary increment will not be there. Intimidating by a gun. Intimidating what ideally that chartered accountant should do. And another example is boss what threatens on performance review, right? Unless work assigned by the boss is done, right? So boss can come and threaten you. If you don't do this, your salary will be cut, your bonus will be cut, and your salary increment will not be given. Right? It's a very good explanation. I hope that you got a very good understanding now what is really meant by ethical threats. This is a highly examinable area. The most of the questions that are coming to examination is from this area. So I was trying to put my maximum effort in explaining these 5 fundamental principles and 5 fundamental threats that are arising, that will have to be faced by a chartered accountant when he, not the personal life, not the personal life, but when he does the dealing of your professional and business relationship. Right? So that is number 4th learning outcome that we just now finished this one. So ethical threats, right? And we are coming to the next one now, dealing with threats to the professional ethical behavior. You can just go through the study text as well. So dealing with threats to professional ethical behavior. So let us look at that also that is a small area in a summarized form. Point number 5. Right. Point number 5 is dealing with ethical threats. Point number 5. Dealing with ethical threats. So what is meant by dealing with ethical threats? Now, if I just explain you as a chartered accountant, as I told you at the beginning, this particular chartered accountant has to maintain the fundamental principles, right? Fundamental principles. So the chartered accountant must maintain the fundamental principles. There are 5 fundamental principles. I'm not going to write here. While he is trying to maintain this 5 fundamental principles and threats arising, ethical threats, even though you try to maintain the fundamental principle, the challenges, the self-review, self-interest, familiarity, advocacy, and intimidation threats are arising. while you are trying to maintain the integrity, objectivity, professional competence, confidentiality, professional behavior. So when you try to maintain, this auditor shall, right? So auditor has to maintain, there is no doubt about that. So this is mandatory, right? And while you are trying to maintain the mandatory fundamental principles, always the challenges are coming. Now, as an example, your boss threatened you. If you don't do this wrong thing, I will cut your salary. And if you, then that is a one threat arising intimidation. And if you are dealing with the accountant for so many years, you have a familiarity threat arising. The familiarity threat will make a barrier to maintain the objectivity of fundamental principle. So therefore, in our day-to-day life as a chartered accountant, when we try to maintain the fundamental principles, so we are facing the ethical threats. We are facing the ethical threats. Now, the thing that I'm going to explain to you is, now one day when you become a chartered accountant, you have to maintain the principles, but the challenges also there. When the challenges are there, challenging to challenges is the habit of a chartered accountant, according to me. So now you also should learn this skill. So if you are a chartered accountant or you are going to be a chartered accountant, always remember, so you should have a skill of challenging to challenges. Abhiyoga enakotta e abhiyoga walata abhiyoga karanna puluwan hakiyaවක් ඔයාලඟ තියෙනවා. Abhiyoga walata abhiyoga කිරීම. Challenging to challenges in your examination, you try to do the examination and you try to get ready for the exam. But what happens? A lot of challenges comes. Family issues, financial issues, time issues, university exam, assignments. There are so many challenges coming into you. And audit firm or non-audit firm or the pressure. But you have to maintain, you have to manage the time. It is your skill, it is your challenge, and it is your ability. Hari chartered accountant කෙනෙක් වෙනවා නම් හොඳට මතක තියාගන්න අපි අභියෝග වලට අභියෝග කරන්න ඕනේ. කිසි දෙයකට බය වෙන්න එපා. විභාග මහන්සිලා පුළුවන් තරම් පාඩම් කරලා විභාග ලියන්න. වැඩ කරනකොට ට්‍රේනින් යන කාලේ මේක ජොබ් එකක් කරනවා කියලා හිතන්න එපා. මම මේක ට්‍රේනින් යන්නේ. වැරදි කරන්න, ඒ වැරද්ද නිවැරදි කරගන්න, ඒ වැරද්ද ආපහු කරන්න එපා. While the training period, you can do a one-time mistake, but don't repeat the mistake. If you repeat that, that is not categorized as a mistake, right? First time, if you do something error, something wrong, unknowingly, it is a mistake. But the second time also, if you do the same thing, it is not a mistake, right? It is not a mistake. So that during this 3 years article period or during this 3 years, your scheduled study time for CA, do maximum and finish this exam. And do maximum and get the practical exposure. One day you become qualified. It is easy for you to work thereafter. Because you know why? From the training period, from the learning step, you have developed a mental strength. ලොකු මානසික විශ්වාසයක්, මානසික ශක්තියක් නිර්මාණය කරගන්න. මේ මානසික විශ්වාසය, මානසික ශක්තිය අපි දැම්මැති කරගන්න ඕනේ qualified වුණාට පස්සේ වැඩ කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන විදිය. All right? Okay. So now, chartered accountants, just because of they are having ethical threats. Now let's say companies, bosses threaten you. If you don't do this one, you will be taken off. Are you scared? No. Just because of that boss tell you are scared and whatever the boss tell you are going to do? No. If the management has done a 5 million fraud and evening comes to your home and say, look here, I have done a fraud, but can you avoid this? I'll give you 2 million money. Are you going to take? How you are going to manage this situation? And if you are dealing with the audit firm, if you are auditor for so many years and you have personal relationship, how you are going to deal with that? If you are auditor of your wife company, how you are going to deal with that? Whether CA Sri Lanka is telling you not to do anything? No. The CA Sri Lanka is not telling you not to do all this. The CA Sri Lanka has a very good understanding what is happening for all the chartered accountants. So therefore, the CA Sri Lanka has introduced a mechanism. Now, if I go to my previous example in Monaragala, if you started a vegetable cultivation in the jungle, and there are a lot of challenges that could come. Wild elephant will come, other animals will come, and the diseases will come, fertilizer issues will come. Let's take an example of wild elephant, wild elephant threat. Now, you know, cultivation you have to maintain. That is your fundamental. Number two, you know, challenges or the threats are rising. That is also correct. Threats are coming. Just because of the wild elephants are coming and destroying my cultivation, am I ready to give up that my cultivation to the wild elephants? Mama, me mage wagawa sampurnයෙන්ම me alinta kanna දීලා මං එතනින් අයින් වෙලා එනවද? දැන් මට වගාවක් කරලා මම මේ වගාවෙන් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන යම්කිසි අරමුණක් තියෙනවා. ඒ අරමුණ මම සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම අලින්ට දීලා එතනින් අයින් වෙනවද? අයින් වෙනවද? අයින් වෙයිද? අයින් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Similarly, this chartered accountant also need to maintain the fundamental principle. While maintaining the fundamental principle, the threats are arising like wild elephant. Who cares? Wild elephant threats are coming. Threats are coming. When the threats are there, let's say wild elephant in the cultivation, වල්ලා ලියනවා නම් මොකක්ද අපි කරන්නේ? වල්ලා ලියන එක වළක්වන්න අපි ගත හැකි උපරිම ක්‍රියාමාර්ග ගන්න. මොනවද ගන්න ක්‍රියාමාර්ග? අපි දානවා අලි වැටක්, elephant fence. We put the elephant fence, right? Or we shoot type of things are there. Or sometimes you go in the night time and you try to protect your cultivation in the night time and shouting, like you try to do maximum. Clear? So what I'm trying to say, you are not going to just disregard the elephant threat. You are going to take some safeguard activities to safeguard your cultivation. Similarly, this particular chartered accountant also, he has to face the problem. He has to face the problem, but he doesn't give up immediately. What he's trying to do, he is trying to put the safeguards. What happening? Like we are protecting our cultivation from the elephants. Similarly, our cultivation mean our fundamental principle as a chartered accountant. Whatever the challenges come, before the challenge is coming, we try to put the safeguard activities. We try to protect our fundamental principle. Right? We try to protect our fundamental principle. I'll tell you one or two examples for you to just to have a good understanding. Let's say one example, right? You are the auditor. Sorry. Right? So let's say, what's that? Right. So you are the auditor of ABC Private Limited, for a last 5 years. Right. So if you are auditor of the ABC Private Limited for last 5 years, there is a threat arising. What? That is familiarity. Threat is arising. Right? Now, the easiest option is what? The easiest option is not to do this audit because familiarity threat is there. I should not do this audit. No. What the CA Sri Lanka is telling you, when there is an issue like that, try to apply the safeguard and see whether the threat can be reduced. Threat cannot be eliminated, but threat can be reduced. Like in the elephant, threat can be reduced by putting the elephant fence. That doesn't mean elephant won't come in. Elephant fence, even the elephant fence is there, elephant can come in, but you can reduce the risk into a certain level. So therefore, so if you are the auditor of ABC PLC for last 5 years or 7 years, let's say, and familiarity threat is arising, to safeguard from that, you can apply a safeguard. What you can do is, right, you can rather firm is giving up the audit, right, change the team, change the partner, leader. So rather you do the audit from the same team, but the same firm change the team. It gives to another person. See, easiest option is to firm to not to do that audit. But rather we go into that, we apply a safeguard, safety mechanism. Change the partner. Right? And I'll tell you another example for you, another example. Right? In our audit team, let's say you are an audit senior of the audit, and when the audit senior has gone to the audit of Pizza Hut audit eකට යනවා. ගියාට පස්සේ a company එකේ, right, at the end of the audit is over, you are given 10,000 gift voucher from the Pizza Hut. You can eat 10,000 pizza at any of the outlet in Sri Lanka. 10,000 gift voucher. Now, see, so audit senior is given rupees 10,000 gift voucher, right? What is the threat arising here? Definitely, it is self-interest. Why self-interest is arising? Because when you are given a 10,000 gift voucher, of course, you are getting a relationship, you are getting some positive sign. Again, so self-interest threat arising. Now, when the self-interest threat arising, what is the safeguard available? The CA Sri Lanka is not telling not to take that gift voucher, But what you have to do is you have to apply the safeguard. Apply the safeguard and try to minimize the impact to your fundamental principles. There are certain cases there are no safeguard available, but certain cases the safeguards are available. So you can apply the safeguards. So in this case, immediate safeguard available is to inform to your superior. Inform to your boss. First of all, you inform to your boss and see what the boss is telling. Whether actually, then the boss will look at whether actually by getting this 10,000, actually whether there is an impact to objectivity. If there is no impact to the objectivity, so it doesn't matter. Take in that gift voucher. So therefore, in auditing challenges or the chartered accountant challenges, you cannot have an answer yes or no. So you have to evaluate what is the issue and what is the impact to the fundamental principle, what the safeguard that the chartered accountant can apply, right? That protection mechanism is called as the safeguard. When you are dealing with ethical threats, this is how you have to deal. So therefore, so basically, when you are dealing with ethical threats, chartered accountants mainly apply 3-step model, right? Sorry, 4-step model, right? 4-step model. So that there's another theory we'll discuss later for just to look at the examination. So always in a practical circumstances, right? This chartered accountant sees, right? Identify the threat. Right? This chartered accountant is identifying your threat. So example, let's say familiarity. So you identify the threat. And number 2, right? And evaluate the impact to the financial statement. Sorry, evaluate the impact to the fundamental principles. Evaluate the impact to the fundamental principles. Right? An example, familiarity could affect to the objectivity. Right? So first of all, the chartered accountant identify the threat. Threat is familiarity. Number two, evaluate the impact to the fundamental principle. Remember, just because of having a threat, that doesn't mean that you should give up all this. Then ජීවිතේ අභියෝගාවයි කියලා අපි ඕක give up කරනවද? නෑ, give up කරන එක අන්තිම solution එක. So you don't give up. So we try to look at, right, whether safeguards available, right? So you are trying to see whether the safeguards are available. Answer yes. Answer yes. In this particular case, change the team. See? So you try to look at whether the safeguard is available or not. The fourth option is the last one. If safeguards not available, right? And then you have to deny or the reject, or you have to come out from that, withdraw from the work. Withdraw or reject the work or a matter. So remember this, I gave this post step for you to rationally think, logically think. Just because we are having a threat, that doesn't mean the chartered accountant is not going to do that. But always the chartered accountant look at the impact to the fundamental principle and then see whether the safeguard can be applied, like rotation of the people and informing to the boss and doing like quality control works. Likewise, there are so many safeguards, but in your examination, there won't be a very big safeguard will be tested, but you need to have understanding what is the best solution. Actually, this can be taught and written. So you are not required to, or you don't have to have a in-depth understanding into the safeguard, what is given in the code of ethics, but just to think and write on this, my diagram. Okay, chartered accountant has a problem. There is a threat. Chartered accountant has getting affected to the fundamental principle, objectivity. The third thing, whether there are safeguard or not. That question is important. So remember, all the threats will not have a safeguard. Let's say you are an auditor of your wife company. You can't apply the safeguard for certain cases, right? Remember, always the safeguard cannot be applied, and all the that is the question is coming, whether the safeguard is available. For 90% of the challenges that are faced by a chartered accountant can be applied the safeguard. But there will be a 10% that safeguard will not be available, because you have to give up. So all those in detail, you will have to learn at the CL1. So we can meet with the CL1 webinars. And so at that time, you can understand into the real gravity, going into the further detail with regard to the safeguard, right? I hope that I wanted to explain the overall summary of the safeguard. Now I'll come to the next point. As per code of ethics, right? So this safeguards, right? This safeguards is divided into two in your code of ethics. Safeguard is divided into two, right? Divide into two, the definition of the safeguard, and this particular safeguard, there are two types of safeguard, right? Safeguards created by legislations, safeguards created by legislations, or profession, right? Your profession or the legal background may create the safeguard. Oh, safeguards created by work environment, right? There are safeguards created by the legislations or the profession, and also there are safeguards created by the work environment, right? So example for the safeguard created by the profession or the legislation is number one, right? So when you come into the profession, when you come in to become a chartered accountant, so you have a minimum entry requirement. Right? This is a safeguard. So that means everybody cannot become a chartered accountant. Everybody cannot become accountant. Everybody cannot be. ඔකොටම වෙන්න පුළුවන් දැන් අපි ඔකොටම ඩොක්ටර්ස්ලා වෙන්න බෑනේ. ඒ වගේම හැමෝටම accountants ලා වෙන්නත් බෑ. So if you are to enter into the accountancy profession, there's a minimum qualification and there's a minimum training requirement, minimum other skill requirements. So the entry requirements are there. So the entry requirement is becoming a safeguard, right? And number two, CPD. What is that? Continuous professional development. So if you are a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountant of Sri Lanka or the CMA, ICCA or ICAW, ICA Pakistan, ICA India, CP Australia, or wherever the professional body, so you are getting a word called continuous professional development. So that means not only you becoming an accountant, chartered accountant, after that you have to maintain. After that you have to maintain your knowledge. You have to improve your knowledge, enhance your knowledge, professional competence we discussed. So therefore continuous professional development, continuous professional development. So the continuous professional development is required for a chartered accountant. So that is a mandatory. Now, if you are a chartered accountant in Sri Lanka, for us, we have a requirement of 20 CPD hours, and there are some requirement 20, then the 120 hours for 3 years. Like there is a minimum hours given by CA Sri Lanka. If you don't comply those, and your membership will not be renewed. So therefore, that is something which is put by the profession, safeguard, right? And the third thing is, right? So you have to follow, anybody coming to the profession, they have to follow the professional standards, right? You cannot work according to you think. So there are professional standards that you have to follow. The fourth thing is, if you breached or if you don't comply with the ethics or disciplinary, right? Disciplinary action will be taken. So if you don't comply, disciplinary action will be taken. Now let's take an example, being a chartered accountant. If I violate my code of ethics, there is an ethics committee. There is an ethics committee. Right? There is an ethics committee in the CA Sri Lanka can call me for an inquiry at the institute, and they may evaluate what I have done is correct or wrong. And there is a possibility, the powers are there for them to even to suspend my membership, right? So therefore, the ethics committee has the power to take some disciplinary action against the members who are violating who are not complying with the code of ethics. So these are common safeguard which is given by the industry as a profession for everyone. But when it comes to safeguard created by work environment, so that work environment also giving you the safeguard which I told you previously. Example, rotation of staff. I told you previously that when the familiarity is there, you have to rotate the people. When the rotating the people, familiarity will go away. Work environment. And the second one is a quality control. You know, when you go and buy a shirt, quality is applicable. When you go to a shirt tag ganne giyama, orlosuwak ganne giyama, car ekak ganne giyama, Chinese tang ganne, habayi api wena rataka nan gannawa. So we look at the quality. We look at the quality everything. So quality is applicable for the accountants as well, right? So therefore, audit firms also are subject to quality control. Everything, because we are also providing the service. When you call to the dialogue for customer care, you expect a quality service. Similarly, when the client come for an audit firm, when the client come for your employee recruits you as an accountant, they expect your quality. So therefore, the quality control mechanisms are there for an audit firm mainly. So those quality control will ensure, that respective fundamental principle, whether it has been achieved or not, right? So these are just to remember for the safeguard that that is given in your study text as well. So one more example I will give you here, right, for a safeguard. Let's say this is a very common example, like commonly applied for so many places in when the safeguards are coming. This example is, let's say, in same one. Now, you are the auditor of ABC Private Limited for 7 years. If the familiarity threat is arising, you can change the team. Or while keeping the same team, appoint a third party. Appoint a third party accountant to come and check the work. So that means if you have a long relationship, you keep the same team, but you can change the team, or you can keep the same team, but we are not sure now whether they are complying with the objectivity. So what you can do? So you can easily appoint a third party person or a third party accountant who is not involved in that audit to come and check the work independently. What these people have done. That is also a safeguard. Now, what is our purpose is to see that whether they have complied with the ethical codes or not. No. So someone else come and checked. Quality control. Someone else come and check the work that is done by, and that person also think that, okay, look here, they have done a proper work. What else do we talk? Even though there is a threat, we have managed the threat. So this third point, so the second point, so can be written in so many places, right? So that is the point number 5 that we discussed. Right, with that we have finished the ethical threats and dealing with threats to professional ethical and behavior, number 5. And now we are coming to the last point of this discussion, that is ethical views and theories. This is a small area, so let us have a look into that and then go to the question discussion. Right, this is the learning outcome number 6. Right, this is ethical views and theories. Right. So ethical views mean how to deal with the ethics, and different people have a different view. Now, as a chartered accountant, I have to comply with the ethics, right? So that I have a different reading and someone else will have a different reading. That is ethical views. Right. So in this explanation, I will divide. Number 1 is ethical views. Ethical views. Now, as a chartered accountant, I believe that I should comply with the code of ethics. I should comply with ethical practices. Doctor should do the ethical work. Engineer should do the ethical work. And labor should do ethical work. Everyone in this world, the profession, they should do the ethical works. Right. How that ethical views are, or how ethical practices are done, there is a 2 different view. Can you remember we discussed the morality? We discussed a morality. The morality mean what? The morality mean what is wrong or what is right. What is right, what is wrong, that is personal belief. What I believe, what is correct. Can you remember the example that I gave you, the war? The war can be justified by someone else. War is good. Somebody can say war is not good because the people are dying or people are killed. So ethical practices also, there are different views in this world. right? So with the ethical practices, how it is to be done. There is no one way of doing. No, if I want to go to goal, I can do I can go in a highway, I can go in a normal way, goal road, right? But final destination is goal. So likewise, ethical practices also have a different views. It's a different views that has been expressed by the expert. So accordingly, you should aware in your theory discussion, there are two different ethical views in your examination perspective. You should aware, right? I'll write in a different color, right? Number one is deontological, D-E-O-N-T-O-logical. Deontological. Other one is teleological. So if somebody asks from you, so the L is not coming, right? If someone asks from you, what is deontological and what was teleological theory, the ethical practices, right? One is under deontological mean. So what it says, right? So it's a duty based compliance. That means now let's say if the gift and hospitality should not be accepted, it told in the code of ethics. It's a duty, and somebody can say whether right or wrong will work according to the duty. But don't look at the final consequences. Final consequences is not look at. We call this a duty base. Like that in the sense is act goes on, set of rules, set of regulation. Now, as a chartered accountant, I will follow the rule. I will follow the rule as given. That's it. There is a rule given, I will follow. That's it. Now, there are some police officers also. So, they will follow the rule as it is. So, deontological, rule-based. Called duty-based. You do the duty in a proper way, as given in the book. As given in the book, it is done as it is. So, duty-based. But no concentration for the end result. No, not looking at outcome. Right? So, duty-based, you are not looking at the outcome. Teleological mean you are not doing with, you are not concentration is whether it is done according to the rule or not. You are not looking at how it is being done or how whether it is according to the books or according to the correct practice. Those are not looked at, right? So this is outcome based. Right? Outcome. So are not looking at the task, not looking at the duty, whether it is correct or wrong. Whether the way it is done is correct or wrong is not looked at. So deontological and teleological ethical practices කරන එක සම්බන්ධයෙන් views දෙකක් තියෙනවා. Deontological කියලා කියන්නේ මම දන්නවා මේක තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ මම මේක සිංහලෙන් කියන්නේ. So deontological කියලා කියන්නේ අපි කරන වැඩේ duty එක හරියටම rule එකක් දිහා බලාගෙන හරියටම කරනවා. හැබැයි ඒකෙදි end result එක outcome එක ගැන එච්චර worry වෙන්නේ නැහැ. consequence එක ගැන එච්චර worry වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Teleological කියලා කියන්නේ කරන විදිය ගැන worry වෙන්නේ නැහැ. But end of the day you looking at the outcome. End result එක කොහොමද කියලා තමයි බලන්නේ. So these two the thing, there is a probability that will be tested in your examination. There are some questions that have come also. So I will take up some of the questions for you to discuss and to see whether deontological and teleological, how that has come in the examination. So if I just go to the study text for just to show you what is this explanation, it will be important for you. That is why I'm going for the study text, right? I'm going to the study text to further look at the deontological and teleological. And if I go to the down the chapter, Right. See. So if you see this definition with me, when considering what is ethical and how to behave ethically, there are two contrasting views, the deontological view and the teleological view. The deontological view, sometimes referred as a duty-based ethics, is that whether an action is right or wrong depends on whether that the individual is doing their duty or following the rules when they take the action, irrespective of the consequence of the action. So deontological view look at the work that is done as per the rules, set of regulation, or the set of code of ethics. The teleological view, sometimes called as consequentialism, is that an individual should be judged on the consequence of action. So you have to judge the thing based on the consequence. And now if we want to assess a person, we can assess a person looking at the work that he has done, final outcome. Or you can assess the person based on the work that is done, that is being done by him. So teleological view is that an individual should be judged on consequences in an action, even though the action might not be according to the applicable rules. So that means there is a possibility that it may not be according to the rule, but the result has come. අර කොහොමද කරන්න කියන එක වැදගත් වෙන්නේ නැහැ, රිසල්ට් එක තමයි වැදගත් වෙන්නේ. පළවෙනි මෙතෙන්ට එකේදී රිසල්ට් එක වැදගත් වෙන්නේ නැහැ, කොහොමද කරන්න කියන එකයි වැදගත් වෙන්නේ. So two different views. Finally, we both ways we may get the same ethical practices. You can't argue the second one is better and the first one is not good than second one. You cannot tell like that. End of the day, you may result in, you may come to the one destination. Like I told you, the way you are going to the goal, you can go highway on the normal way. But sometimes you can have a different argument. Okay, no, second one is best because you are focusing on the result. Right. Of course, rules are usually designed to result in positive consequences, and doing your duty and following the rules will often result in a positive judgment under the both ethical views. That is what I explained you. So this 3 paragraph, as far as the examination is concerned, is very much important. Right. So this is why I came to the study text as well. Right. So under the number 6 item, we have just discussed the ethical views. And another important thing I want to touch here, the ethical theory. There is something called ethical theory. Ethical theories. Ethical theories in the sense, when there is a problem, now you can create thousands of problems. So when you are working in an organization, when you are practicing as a chartered accountant, you can get into thousands of problems. But getting to thousands of problems is okay. But there should be a way of analyzing the problem and coming out from that. Now, when you are working as an accountant, when you are working as an auditor, you will have the threats and your fundamental principles will have to be compromised. So you will have to compromise your fundamental principles. So that may take place. So in such circumstances, how to deal and how to resolve that problem? Where it has given how to resolve. When it comes to Sri Lanka Code of Ethics, you have the fundamental principle, you have the threats, you have the safeguard. So there is a general guideline given. When there is a problem, this is how you should resolve. Likewise, when there is an ethical problem, how it has to be resolved, there are some global theories like ethical views, like ethical theory. How to resolve this is basically how to resolve disputes or the ethical issues. Right? How can I resolve my ethical problem? For that, there is a global accepted methodology we call AAA model. Right? American Accounting Association model. We call American Accounting Association model. Actually, this is not a model that is developed through the stat and all that. This is a very basic explanation. If you listen to both the videos now, this model you can develop. If I face now, let's say you are accountant and your boss is telling, if you don't do this change, your increment will be stopped. It is not correct. My boss is asking me to do an unethical thing. So can I avoid that? It is an issue, ethical resolution. Right? There is an issue now. That issue must be resolved. How to resolve that? You you can resolve also, but you can adapt this model when there is such an issue. Now, Pizza Hut, when I go to the audit, Pizza Hut giving me the pizza. Can I get or not? I don't know. Apply to the same model. And when I went to when I did the cinema audit, and I'm being given a 2 weeks holidays freely at any cinema hotel in Sri Lanka. Let's assume that. Should I take or not? Should I take or not? Cannot tell exactly should be taken or not. So you have to analyze the information. You have to look at the information. So to analyze and look at those information. So this American Accounting Association model, AA model, could be applied. So these people are telling 7 steps, right? You follow these 7 steps, and if you follow these 7 steps, so you will be able to resolve this problem. It's a very simple thing. I'll just go through the all 7 steps now. Nothing to memorize, but of course what we discussed up to now, right? So let me to take you through the study text. What is this American Accounting Association model? See this one, ethical theories. Ethical theories and models have been developed to help with resolution of ethical conflict, resolution of ethical conflict. When there is a conflict, how to resolve that? One such model which used step-by-step approach is the American Accounting Association model. Very simple one, right? Very simple. See, these are the steps. There are 7 steps. Step 1. Establish the facts of the case. Identify the facts of the case. What is the issue? Someone has offered you the bribe. It is the facts. Identify the ethical issue in the case. If someone has offered you the bribes, then what is the ethical issue? Your fundamental principles is going to be violated through the self-interest threat. Identify the ethical issues. Then identify the principles and values related to the case. So here step number 2, you identify the ethical issue is the self-interest, and you identify the step number 3 from where to where it's going to be affected. It is basically the objectivity. And then number 4, identify each alternative course of action, ensuring all outcomes are considered. So that means the first one, you establish the case. The second one, identify the ethical issues in the case. Third one, identify the principles. Identify the case, identify the threat, simple way of putting. Identify the principle affected, identify the solutions available. What is the solution? Solution number 1, accept the bribe. Solution number 2, don't accept the bribe. Solution number 3, inform to the head. Then step number 5. Very simple this one. Huh? Compare each of the alternative action, step 4, and see if they are in accordance with the principles and values in identified 3. Compare each of the alternatives. So you compare the alternatives available and see whether what is best, right? And consider the consequences of each outcome, and the decision is taken bearing in the mind that the principles and the values and the possible outcome. It's very simple 7 step. So if you can remember, is even better this one. What is the first one? Establish the facts. Number 2, look at the ethical issue. Number 3, what is the impact of the principle? Number 4, look at the alternative. Number 5, compare the alternative. And number 6, consider the impact. And number 7, take the decision. Very simple, right? Hari lazy make me mahaloku de anne kawra wada kala bribe එකක් දුන්නොත් ඒ bribe එක ගන්නවද නැද්ද කියලා තීරණය කරන්න ක්‍රමයක් නැත්තම් දාන්න ඒ මොඩල් එකට. මොකද්ද කරන්නේ? ඉතලා මොකද්ද ප්‍රශ්නේ කියලා බලන්න. ඒකෙන් තියෙන ethical threat එක මොකද්ද කියලා බලන්න. ඒකෙන් තියෙන principles effect වෙනවා මොනවද බලන්න. alternatives මොනවද කියලා බලන්න. alternatives compare කරන්න. ඒ alternatives එකින් එක ගත්තොත් එයාගේ තියෙන impact එක බලන්න. End of the day you make the decision. So these 7 steps are given in the American Accounting Association model with regard to the resolution of or resolving of the ethical conflict, right? So applying this, there is an example given here. You can just read. I gave the same example of the fraud, the bribery case. and you can just read this one, right? So that's not a very difficult thing. I hope that. Right. So with that, we are finishing all our 6 areas in this ethical chapter. And I just want to tell you the one last thing, because some of you had, some of you might have thought whether, now I was telling that whether this, when you go to the Pizza Hut, if they are giving the Pizza Hut, whether I can take. And when I go to the Shangri-La hotel, if they are giving me my wedding to be taken under free of charge, can I take that? When I go to the Bairaha, whether 10 kilograms of chickens are given, can I take that? And I am given a gift voucher by my boss, can I take that? And so there are a lot of issues whether this gift given by the people, if we are auditors or a chartered accountant, can we take? අපි හැමෝම තෑගි ගන්න කැමති. හැබැයි අපි මේ දෙන තෑගි ගත යුතුද නැද්ද? Right? So this is another question. I know this question I should not left as unanswered. So accepting gift, can I do or not? If you accept the gift, so you are creating a self-interest threat. Right? This will impact the, definitely for integrity as well as objectivity. So mainly, if you accept the gift, and the self-interest will create, and mainly for the integrity and objectivity. So therefore, your conclusion is whether I have the safeguards to be applied. So this will be the question. In simple term, you will ask, when the person is giving a gift, can I take that? Code of ethics is very clear that, right? You should not accept any gift unless it is clearly insignificant. Right? So that means this particular code of ethics says that you can take it. You can take it. Now, not encouraging to take. So encouraging not to take. Actually, code encourage not to take any gift. But code says that if you are getting something clearly insignificant, let's say you go for audit of a company and you are given a pen. I take one example. You have gone for audit of a Rainco umbrella company in Kadugannawa. And this umbrella company, when you finish the audit and when you come back, and it was a rainy day, and and you don't have an umbrella to come, accountant gives you an umbrella for you to keep on a rainy day. It is also can be categorized as a gift. So only thing you have to see is whether by accepting this gift, whether any impact will be there to your fundamental principle. Or this particular person who is giving a gift, what is the intention of that person giving a gift? Whether his intention is to change my mind and to divert my objectivity. If those are not there, so if it is clearly insignificant, it could be undertaken, but by undertaking that, there should not be any impact to your fundamental principles, right? That should not be breached any fundamental principle, because people can give a gift on a very good intention also. Then, so you can take it, right? There is no issue. But finally, that should not have impact to your professional judgment and the professional dealings, right? Then somebody can think that is one part of the story, second part of the story. Can I give the gift? Can I give the hospitality? Now, if you are working in a company, so for you to get it done certain things from the government sector, sometimes you may be trying to give some bribes. You may be trying to give some bribes or some gift, some hospitality to get it done something. Can you do? No. So chartered accountant must not, remember, chartered accountant must not offer inducement. The chartered accountant must not. So you cannot do such that type of thing. Significance is not applicable there, right? So this is the last point that I want to touch with you all, right? So with that, we are finishing the theory area of this code of ethics. I hope that you got a very clear picture on the all learning outcomes in the study text. right? So all 6 we discussed now, all 6 we discussed. And so let us go to the, now we discussed some of the question up to this point in the previous video. So let us go and see few questions from these 3 areas now, right? So first of all, I'm going to do a 2 question from the revision kit, right? Because revision kit, so you all should practice the revision kit. So you may be aware this can be downloaded from the Sri Lanka LMS. This revision kit contains a lot of questions that you to practice from each chapter. Please do look at this particular booklet. So this is the only study material in terms of the question practicing that you have from each and every section. For each and every chapter, there are some questions, and these are question page numbers and the answers also there. So basically, I'm selecting the few questions from here, from our chapter today, that is chapter number 11, ethics and agree in the terms of the engagement, page number 51. Few questions, I select, other questions you can do your own because answers also are here. Right. Right, starting from 11. So 11 is the ethics and agree in the terms of the engagement. So this is your chapter, and there are so many questions you can practice, answers also there. But my first question, I'm taking 11.13. 11.13, my first question to discuss. Right, so 11.13. So I have taken this one from the revision kit for you to just to show you that, right? Now, whenever you are writing the questions, I have told you three steps to be followed. The number 1 is what? So you have to read the 3 times the question. You have to read the 3 times the question that I have trained you all. The second one is the elimination theory. What is meant by elimination theory? You have to identify the wrong answers first, not the correct answer. The third thing I have told you, remember that immediate answer that comes to your mind may not be the correct answer. These 3 important steps must be concrete level, has to be in your mind. Concrete throughout the question paper discussion or a question discussion in your examination as well as before the examination, right? Right, read the 3 times. A firm of accountant advertise using the following statements. Cheap audits, guaranteed clean audit report, guarantees tax savings. Can you remember I told that when the cricket match goes on the R. Premadasa Stadium, so 10% discount, guarantees tax saving. Have you seen this statement in the media? No. It's told no. So then just see again, a firm of accountant advertise using following statement: cheap audit, guaranteed clean audit report, guaranteed tax savings. State which of the ethical principle that advert contravenes and why. State which of the ethical principle this advert contravenes and why. State which of the ethical principle this advert contravenes and why. Right? So that means simply it is asked which ethical principles are being violated by looking at this particular the advertisement. The number 1, it says advocacy. Advocacy is not a threat. Objectivity, confidentiality, professional behavior. But I told you all, go to elimination theory. It can't be the advocacy. Why? Advocacy is a threat. It is not a fundamental principle. And objectivity, yes, it can be. Confidentiality, it can't be a confidentiality because it is with regard to a marketing of the firm services. And the professional behavior. Now we have a 2 to be selected out of 4. Obviously, if you have learned properly, you know this is a behavior of the accountant where the accountant should not bring the chartered accountancy profession into disreputation or the disrepute. Right? So therefore, it's a very simple, straightforward question, 1.13. Then, right, 1.14. And intimidation, which we discussed, the threat. An intimidation threat may result in a professional accountant acting unethically. Which of the following are example of intimidation threat? How many times you have to read? 3 times. An intimidation threat may result in a professional accountant acting unethically. Which 2 of the following are example of intimidation threat? Read one more time. And intimidation threat may result in professional accountant acting unethically. Yes, in intimidation it could happen. Which of the following are example of intimidation threat? Intimidation. A client state they will take legal action for any previous poor work. I gave this example in my explanation just now. The audit partner agrees to take on the role of secretary for an audit client. The finance director is the uncle of the audit senior. An accountant is threatened with a poor appraisal if the audit is completed efficiently. Remember, in your examination, sometimes most of the questions are from the study text. So if you read the study text properly, the chances of getting through the examination is very high, and easily about 50-60 marks will be directly from the study text. So therefore, it is very much important for you to follow the study text in a proper way, right? Which 2 of the following example for intimidation threat? A client state that they will take the legal action for any previous poor work. Yes, it's a threatening, it's a warning. The audit partner agrees to take on the role of secretary for an audit client. The audit partner agrees to take the role of secretary for an audit client. It is not intimidation. It will come with sometime the self-review, because you are reviewing the work that is done by you sometime. Finance director is the uncle of the audit senior. Finance director is the uncle of the audit senior. No, because this is a self-interest will come, or the familiarity will come. An accountant is threatened. Threatened word. Threatened with the poor appraisal if the audit is completed efficiently. So therefore, elimination theory works in a proper way, and these 2 are wrong, and these 2 are correct. And 1 and 4 is correct. 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 2 and 4, 1 and 4 is coming under the answer D. Right? Don't get hurry in your examination to select the answer. Keep a real mental confidence and don't get scared, because auditing is not a difficult subject. Keep a very confident mind with you. Very confident mind that you can think and find the answer. Rather, if you cannot remember, memorize, you can think, analyze, and logically think in terms of getting the answer. Right, so let us go to the another one more question from these two. These 2 I have selected from the revision kit. I want to discuss a question from teleological views, that ethical views, because that I just want to practice with you. Just I select a question from the mock examination paper. So this paper is available in the CS Sri Lanka LMS. That you can see. Basically, this question is mock examination question number 11. Question number 11. See how nice. So your most expected views, ethical views question, right? Despite the consequence of the action, the auditor decided that material, fraudulent financial reporting identified during the course of the audit of ABC PLC is to be reported to Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka to protect the public interest. Which of the following ethical views explain the above scenario? Duty-based and result-based. Duty-based, consequence-based. How many times you are reading the question? 3 times. Despite the consequences of the action, the auditor decided that the material, fraudulent financial reporting identified during the course of the audit of ABC PLC is to be reported to the Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka to protect the public interest. One more round. Despite the consequences of the action, the auditor decided that the material, fraudulent financial identified during the course of the audit of ABC PLC is to be reported to Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka to protect the public interest. Right? So that means what's going to happen here? here itself answer is given actually. What it says, despite the consequence of the action, despite the consequence of the action itself, answer is given. The auditor decided that material, fraudulent financial reporting identified during the course of the audit of ABC PLC is to be reported to the Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka to protect the public interest. So that means, irrespective of the results going to come, irrespective of the impact going to come, irrespective of the end result going to come, irrespective of the other things going to happen, this particular auditor is going to go by the rule-based task. That means there is a fraudulent financial reporting identified, whether we don't look at the impact, but we look at, and we just thinking to report to the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka. That is our duty. But duty, you have to see whether it is resulting in a proper end result. It is our duty, yes. If there is a matter has been identified, you have to report. But before reporting, you have to see a lot of aspects as well. Reporting also a duty. What the impact is going to happen, not looked at. Deontological and teleological. You can simply answer. What is the answer? Which of the following ethical views explain the above scenario? It can't be a teleological, right? It can't be a teleological because there we look at the consequence. Consequentialism, both are same. Teleological and consequentialism both are same. Ethical egoism, so no, we didn't discuss such a thing. Answer is teleological, deontological. So answer 11, answer A. But remember, so this, don't think that the new words that are there in the study text or a study materials, whether it is difficult. No. Actually, when there is an unknown word, keep this confident till you become a chartered accountant. If there is an unknown thing to you, if there is a new word come in, that is going to be easy because you don't know anything. Just take the proper picture into the mind, what it is really. And then whatever the questions that are coming in that area, you can discuss. You can attend at the examination, right? Okay, so now I have discussed 3 questions. I'll take another 1 or 2 questions from the pilot paper as well. So I'll just go to the pilot paper. So this is your pilot paper, you are well aware. So this pilot paper is available in the CH Sri Lanka LMS. So I'm going to take the question number 18, which I show you at the beginning of the session from the threads. So you are the partner in charge of the audit of Taruka Fashion Private Limited for the year ended 31st March 2019. Accountant of Taruka Fashion has left the company on 20th March 2019. As a result, the management has requested you to prepare the financial statement of the company before auditing them. What type of threat might this give rise to? Ideally, you have to, how many times you have to read? 3 times, but I'm not going to read 3 times. Because now in the practice, you know, I'll read another 1 more time. You are the partner in charge of the audit of Taruka Fashion Private Limited for the year ended 31st March 2019. Remember this nature of the business and the financial year is a very crucial information in auditing papers. Always when there is a year end is given, please highlight and keep. Accountant of Taruka Fashion has left the company on 20th March. So we are carrying out the audit till 31st March 2019. So 10 days before the financial year is ended, Taruka has left the company. As a result, the management has requested you to prepare the finance statement of the company before auditing them. Now, this is, let's say, Fashion Private Limited. This is the auditor, right? And this accountant has left. So these people are asking from you before auditing, before our diagram comes, can you prepare the finance statement? Can you prepare the finance statement? But what is going to happen? Auditor can prepare the finance statement. But the problem is, once he prepares the finance statement, who is going to review? He is going to review. He is going to prepare the finance statement prepared by whom? Himself. Right? Self-interest? No. Familiarity? No. Self-proof? Yes. Intimidation? No. There are certain questions you don't have to go on elimination theory. Sometimes directly you can identify. but I always recommend follow my 3 guidelines. Number 1, read 3 times Elimination Theory, and the immediate answer that comes to your mind may not be the correct answer, right? Now, the one more question to be looked at, question number 19. Sorry, question number 25 will take. Again, question number 25. Sampath is the Chief Financial Officer of Colombo PLC. He is entitled to a bonus based on the annual profit of the company. Then api kata karupu example matak wenaකොට මේක දැම්ම කියන්න පුළුවන්. Which of the following is the likely threat he may be facing as a result of this? Sampath is the Chief Financial Officer of the Colombo PLC. He is entitled to a bonus based on the annual profit of the company. Which of the following is likely threat? Third time, reading carefully. Sampath is the Chief Financial Officer of Colombo PLC. He is entitled to a bonus based on the annual profit. So bonus is paid to CFO. I told you, he wants to get as much as possible, the highest bonus. And as a result of this, can't be self-review, can't be advocacy, because advocacy is you are appearing, you are promoting your client on behalf of client, and self-interest possible, it is not the familiarity. It's a direct question. Answer is self-interest. Answer C. Right. So now, so we are coming to the end of the today's discussion. So let's go to the presentation now. Right. So what we have been discussing under the part, so we discussed the chapter 11, part A and the part B. And part A, we basically covered the 3 learning outcomes in the previous video. And now we discuss the part 4, 5, and 6. And I'm sure that now you can answer all these learning outcomes. So if I just go through with the learning outcome again, explain the concept of auditor's independence recognized by those undertaking an assurance engagement are required to be independent. Recognize deontological and teleological views, very much aware, duty-based, result-based. Describe ethical decision-making model that could be applied in ethical conflict scenario. AAA model, right? American Accounting Association model, and you are aware the 7 steps are there. Even now you can apply from your practical circumstances also into this particular scenario, right? So with that, we are finishing this chapter 11 discussion. So I hope that this 1.5 hours of the videos, so you got a real understanding into that. So now there will be a definite question coming in your examination. There will be a definite question coming in your examination from this code of ethics area. That is for about, let's say about 10-15 marks will definitely be there. So therefore, and also it is an easy chapter. It's not a difficult chapter for you to practice and understand. Please, and go through these videos again. Look at the study text, look at the revision kit, look at the past papers of the mock paper and the pilot paper, and practice the question. Adapt the 3 golden rules that I give in writing the questions. Number 1, read in 3 times elimination theory, and immediate answer that comes to your mind may not be the correct answer, right? So if you have any question with regard to this particular chapter, so you can raise me at any time. So you can send me an email, or you can send me a WhatsApp message or Telegram message, so that I will be able to reply for any of the questions that you have, or you can contact me through the social media. I'm also there, so that I will be able to answer if you have any question with regard to the code of ethics, what we discussed. And also please note that code of ethics is one of the easiest area in your syllabus. You can definitely score higher marks at the examination, right? Thank you.